Hi guys, this is your flip video for motions of the moon, which is like the moon phases. So for this flip video, you need to get this sheet out. This sheet has, it's like your note guide, so it has all the words that we're going to define today. So we're going to get a definition here, and then you will draw a picture to represent those words in that last column. The picture should be colored and detailed. Okay? So we're going to start off right away. So the beginning, and this isn't one of your definitions, but it's just, there's a lot of motions going on right now. So there's motions of the moon, the earth, and the sun even. And there's changing positions of the moon, earth, and sun that causes the phase of the moon. They cause eclipses, and they cause tides. Interesting enough, if you notice here, the flag is always pointing towards the earth. That's because the moon does rotate the same exact time it revolves. So that makes it so that when we are facing the moon, we always face the same side of the moon. There is one side of the moon that never faces Earth. Alright, so your first definition. So this goes in the top box. The phase of the moon you see depends on how much of the sunlit side of the moon faces Earth. Excuse me. So there's the moon's always half lit, but different portions of that half lit side faces Earth. So if you look over here at the new moon, all the lit sides facing the sun. Over here at the full moon, all the lit sides facing Earth. And then in between is different amounts. Wait, so the phase of the moon depends how much of the sunlit side of the moon faces the Earth. I want you to go ahead and take a second, pause the video, and shade in the Earth on the bottom of your sheet. The bottom right hand corner is going to ask you to have all the Earth shaded in. It also wants to know the day of the cycle, so that's listed on the top of the chart. So pause the video, write those down. Okay, next word, eclipse. This sounds like ellipse, but it has the C in there. Eclipse means that it's a shadow, like blocking something. So we just had an eclipse recently, and the moon was blocked by the Earth's shadow. So it could be either way. The moon shadow hits the Earth, or the Earth's shadow hits the moon for an eclipse to occur. This does not occur every month because the orbit is tilted 5 degrees of the moon. So if you look at this little thing here, it's like a CD. It's tilted a little bit from the Earth's orbit around the sun. So we don't have one monthly, but we do have them a couple times a year. A solar eclipse is the next word. A solar eclipse occurs when the moon passes directly between the Earth and the sun, blocking the sunlight from the parts of the Earth. These are pretty rare to see. They happen just as often as a lunar eclipse, but since the shadow is pretty small, if you look over here on the Earth, the shadow is teeny tiny. Since that shadow is so small, only that section of the population that's in that shadow actually gets to see the eclipse. The rest of the Earth really doesn't get to see the eclipse at all. So I want you to draw this picture. You have your sun, your moon, blocking that light hitting the Earth. Here's two parts of a shadow. The umbra is the darkest part of the shadow. That word reminds me of umbrella. It's the same kind of root, talking about shading. So the umbra is the darkest part of the shadow, so the people in this part of the shadow will have a total eclipse. The sun will completely go away for a minute or two, depending where you are. And you get this fancy word called penumbra. That's the largest, lighter part of the shadow. So the people in this purple range here, so that's a greater part of the world, they're going to see a partial eclipse. We're going to have an eclipse in August. We will have a total eclipse for 50-something seconds. But you know what? People in McKelvey Elementary School, they're out of the umbra. In our school district, there's a school that won't see the total eclipse. They're going to only see a partial eclipse. So the district's going to have to bus them to another school in order for them to see a total eclipse. We will just have to walk outside. So you got umbra, darkest part of the shadow, penumbra, it's larger and lighter. So here's a video from 1999, way before y'all was born. You can see this moon is moving in on the sun, and then bam, that is a part of the sun that you don't get to see. That was called the corona. We'll be able to see it in August when we have our solar eclipse. This whole thing was captured by using a filter. Unfortunately, your phones won't work when we have our solar eclipse. So here you go, right there. That's the corona of the sun. It's like the little wispy part of the sun's atmosphere. Okay, next word, lunar eclipse. Lunar eclipse is what just happened. It's when the Earth blocks the sunlight from reaching the moon. So it was going to be a full moon. The Earth's shadow got in the way, and the moon kind of goes like reddish and hazy, and then the Earth's shadow moves off the moon again. So draw this picture, sun, Earth, and moon. This happens during a full moon always. Here's a video of a lunar eclipse from 2003, right when y'all were little babies, or maybe not even born yet. So you can see the Earth's shadow coming in, and then right about here is a total lunar eclipse. Now you see Earth's shadow moving out. It's getting lighter over here. There it is. And then the penumbra is gone. You can see kind of a penumbra piece right there. So that's what a lunar eclipse looks like. It just kind of goes reddish. Okay, interesting enough, the moon actually affects more than you think on Earth. It also affects the tides. Not the laundry detergent, silly, but this is like the water in the ocean. So it says tides occur mainly due to the difference in the force of gravity between the moon and different parts of Earth. So I love this picture down here. It's cute. You got the sun, you got the moon. They're way too close together. In real life, they're not that way. And then the moon and the sun's gravity pulls at the water. So that causes the water to be higher there. That's what a tide is. If you ever watched, like, there was an episode of Caillou, hate that show. There was an episode of Caillou where he built his sandcastle like too close to the ocean, and then the tide came in, because the tide comes every 12 hours. The tide came in and totally ruined his sandcastle, and I had to hear Caillou whine. He whined all the time. But regardless, like, there you go. That's what a tide is. It just pulls the water. So you might, if you've ever been to an ocean, you've experienced tides. If you haven't been to the ocean, think about movies where you've seen like big waves and stuff. So here's tides in real life. So you have the same area, the same day. And then the water came in. So that's a high tide in this picture on the left. On the picture on the right, that's a low tide. The water receded back to the ocean, which means it's higher somewhere else. If it's low here, it's high somewhere else. So that's what you'll see with tides, and that happens every 12 hours. High tide to high tides, 12 hours apart. Okay, there's two types of tides. There's a neap tide and a spring tide. A neap tide are the smaller tides. I call them nice and neat, but neap, nice and neap. This is when the moon and the sun are at a right angle. So the moon's like, holla, water, come this way. Sun's like, holla, water, come this way. So the water's kind of being pulled at a tug of war. The moon does win because the moon is significantly closer than the sun. And that outweighs the fact that the sun is ginormous. So the neap tide is smaller and is bulging towards the moon. So you can draw, I would draw this picture and do a small bulge towards the moon. Here, and spring tide is when the water springs up real big, and you got to imagine they're all lined up in a straight line. It doesn't matter if the moon is behind the Earth or in front of the Earth. The gravity is able to pull the water bigger. So you can see this water is significantly larger, and like the tides are bigger than with the neap tides because the water springs up. It's a bigger tide. Okay, that's it. So you should have this whole thing filled out. If you need help with pictures, feel free to Google image search some of the pictures, and I hope you're having a fantabulous day.